Hi, and welcome once again to Stone Soup.
The world according to sci-fi geeks.
We know we've been gone a long, long time. We were distracted. Personal issues. Anyway.
But we're back.
And in that time, we have seen a gazillion films.
Yes.
We can't review them all in 15 minutes, so we're going to start with Batman, because we saw Batman yesterday.
Yes, so it's nice and fresh in our
and
minds.
it's still percolating in our heads.
Or to be more accurate, The Dark Knight Rises.
Well, yeah. That is the proper title of this particular Batman. It's Batman number 3.
Yes.
And first, we liked it. We thought it was a good movie. It is dark, but no
Yes.
darker than the others.
And Batman, by his nature, is dark, no matter what the 60s
There's
have
a reason he's called the Dark Knight.
Yes.
Yeah. The cast was amazing.
Yes.
And not just the usual suspects. Anne Hathaway was a revelation. I mean,
We really got
to tell the truth, I didn't really think much of her before I saw this.
Yes.
But she was really, really good.
We really
And
need
my
to start
husband wants
trusting
me to
Christopher
point
Nolan.
out that unlike the suits in Tron that flattened the girls' butts into these huge amorphous blobs, her costume made her butt look good. And we know that because she was on this motorcycle and kind of laying down, and her butt was, well, anyway, her butt looked good. My husband said so. I made a note.
Yes. And it particularly clever is that her cat ears are actually goggles on her head. She flips them down
yeah.
when she needs them, but when she doesn't, she flips them up, and they just happen to look like cat ears. I thought that was extremely clever.
And it wasn't her motorcycle. It was Batman's motorcycle. So she, having the goggles handy was a pretty good thing when you're
Yes.
riding a motorcycle that has no windshield. That is a wicked motorcycle.
And
My,
you have no
my husband,
helmet
the
either.
engineer, says that sucker could hurt you. But let's see.
More to the point.
On to the cast.
Yes.
Cillian Murphy, who played Scarecrow in the first movie and was also there in the second movie, just a little bit I thought it was on the bridge, but
It was on the beginning,
in the beginning,
in a parking lot.
he was there in sort of a bit part,
Yeah.
playing Scarecrow, same
Yeah.
character.
Well,
And
you know, you're breaking loonies out of Arkham.
you got to have at least some of them recognizable.
Yep.
And there he was. And this man has starred in movies. He didn't need the money. He didn't do it because he was desperate for a part. Is this thing right place? Anyway, so he was wonderful. She was wonderful. Oh, and imagine I had to run out and go to the bathroom because I, frequently do. And when I came back, imagine my shock when I turned around and there on the screen was Owen from Torchwood.
Yes.
I was like, Owen's in it?
I did not
cool
know
is
that.
Oh, and then a little bit later, in a small part,
As a big burly
as a big
thug?
burly thug punching out people, I think he was probably, belonged to the bad guys,
Yeah, he did.
was Chris Judge from SG-1. It's like,
Imagine that.
wow, this, and of
was cool.
And everybody was just amazing.
And
as
then,
they
of
always
course,
are.
there was Bane. Now, considering that the guy who does Bane typically does romantic comedies, this must have been an interesting turn for him.
Maybe he does a lot more. He's British, but that's the one thing I know that he's done recently was a romantic comedy,
Okay.
where he and Chris Pine were vying for Reese Witherspoon's affections. Don't remember the name of the movie, but all you have to do is Chris Pine, Tom Hardy, Reese Witherspoon. You'll find it.
Yeah.
And by the way, the guy who played Owen in Torchwood, his name is Bern Gorman.
Yes.
You wanted us to say that it needed more Alfred
Yes.
because Michael Caine is just so good as
I
Alfred.
to say, Bane was an interesting choice for it to be the final villain for the Christopher Nolan films. You know, he was not one of the bigger members of the Rogues Gallery, but, one of the ones I suppose that was easiest to do realistically.
Yeah,
Though they did change a few things.
like
Well, from my understanding, in the cartoon and probably in the comics, he is almost constantly using a super form of steroids he calls venom. In the movie, they had that he was pumping himself almost constantly with pain medication. The end result was largely the same, that it was very hard to hurt him because he just didn't feel it.
on the other hand, he was huge and burly as if he had been taking steroids.
Yeah.
God knows. That's the other interesting thing is Tom Hardy is not ordinarily huge and burly at all.
No.
He changed his entire physical profile for it. Now, Bane is wearing this mask over his face,
Yes.
like this,
So apparently he's breathing in pain meds.
apparently. But we couldn't understand what he was saying. And they didn't fix it in post, which they could have. They could have done some additional dialogue recording, dubbing, and fixed it so we could at least understand him. I never had any troubles understanding Darth Vader, and he's always wearing a breathing mask. So
I mean, I understood most of what Bane said, but about a third of his dialogue got lost.
I didn't. I just sat there saying, "What did he just say?" Had no idea. 90% of the time, I had no idea what he was saying. And while we're on the tremendous cast, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is amazing. He stands out no matter what he does. He's just really, really good, and he's been really good since he was a little kid. So definitely, we can say you will see a plethora of fantastic performances.
Yes.
Now, some of the reviewers said they had trouble following the story. That is in part because they don't give you this one key piece of information until close to the end, because they wanted to surprise. Well, they wanted to surprise Batman more than they wanted to surprise us.
Well, yes.
And there wasn't any way to impart the information, I don't think.
Not really.
Until Batman learned it.
But
it does mean that the second time you see it, you then understand some stuff you didn't understand before. And you'll be sitting there saying, yep, yep, yep. Oh, and Morgan Freeman was his usual magnificent self, of course.
Naturally.
But, so there is that. But it's just we thought it was a really good film.
There are a few plot issues. Basically, Bane takes Gotham hostage for something like 5 months. 5 months, people. The government never came up with a plan. The citizens never formed their own militia. You'd be surprised how fast you can learn to snipe when the situation calls for it. But see, this is what happens when you take away the honest citizens' guns. Kiss your cities goodbye. Anybody who marches in with big enough guns, they take it, because there's no one who can fight back.
My girl. I'm so proud. Yep, because she's right.
Yep.
You think the citizens would have stood up. They were all... Basically, you have an entire city that's so terrified that even the cops from the outside of the city, they've actually been sort of enlisted to keep people from leaving on the grounds that if anybody walks out of here, walks across those bridges, we're going to blow this bomb.
So for one thing,
and there'll
you can't
be a
be
big
watching
old
everything all the time.
And there'll be well, not only that, they would have blown themselves to smithereens.
Exactly.
Yeah, like they're going to do that.
Or if they're going to do it, they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
That's true. If they're going to blow themselves up, they're going to do it anyway.
Anyway, so
Now, technically,
and that was one of the things that wasn't quite clear too, was why. I mean, you take a city hostage because you want something.
and if they just want to destroy the city, just blow the bomb.
Yeah.
Technically, the real reason the writers did it that way was to give Bruce time to heal from this rather severe beatdown Bane gave him.
Yeah.
And although that sort of makes sense, it just doesn't make sense they'd wait this long to do it. I mean, if they're going to blow the city, they're going to blow
Also,
it.
where the hell was that prison?
That's a good question. It looked like it was in the middle of the whole town.
Which
It was in India.
they
the
transported him all the way to India,
Yes.
dropped him in this hole.
Sorry, I thought talking about the prison in Gotham. Yeah, no. And then he somehow gets back, and they never explained how he managed to sneak back into the city.
Yeah.
Or how Bane got out.
Well, he swam back. He had to have.
It was frozen solid, remember? That's one of the ways they were killing people, to make them walk out on the ice.
That's true.
And then all of a sudden at the end it was thawed. There are
Spring.
a few issues.
Spring. It's not like Gotham is always covered in frost.
No, but
As she says, there are some issues with things like that you have to overlook. And then that wasn't even the big one for me, because I didn't understand Bane's motives. I didn't understand why he was doing any of this, and you don't find it out until the end.
If you can't hear the lines, you don't even...
And if you can't hear the lines, you don't know if you've missed it or not.
although, if you know Batman, if you follow the comics or the cartoon, there is one clue in there if you're paying attention. I don't know if I should say or not. How spoilery is it? Yeah. Spoilers. It's been out for 4 weeks, people. If you don't already know, that's your problem. If you don't want to know, either skip ahead or stop the review now. But the thing is
Wait a second. I'm listening. Go.
basically, they say that Ra's al Ghul's child was in that prison and climbed out. Batman thinks it's Bane. But if you know the story that's always been told before, you have to know that Ra's doesn't have a son. He has a daughter. Okay, spoiler over.
Yeah.
It's brilliantly shot. It's gorgeous to look at.
Oh God, yes.
I have a few mixed feelings about the ending.
I mean, there's a part of my brain that wants to know just how much of all that stuff was CGI. Because they just, slap all kinds of CGI over everything.
I seem to recall with the first movie, they built some of it and CGI'd the rest. How much of each is, who knows?
Well, and the thing is, it's not like they can leave it standing
No.
for years on end until they get there for the next one. No. Sets get stricken.
Yep.
I mean, that means,
'Cause
that means
people need
taken
to
down.
Yeah. Because people need the space.
Yeah. To put up other sets.
But I have a few mixed feelings about the ending, mostly because, to me, as much as I love the Christopher Nolan movies, for me, the 90s Batman the Animated Series is the definitive Batman. And also its sequel, Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
So there's just this part of me that feels like another ending I would have accepted would be, Bruce retires, and then we have a cookie, like at the end of the credits, where this boy comes stumbling up to the gate being chased by punks. Bruce chases them off and says to this kid, "Who are you?" Terry McGinnis. End there.
Which was the beginning of Batman Beyond.
Yes. We'd
But-
love to see a Batman Beyond movie.
Yeah. But of course, that has to be a lot of years in the future because
Yes.
Bruce is very, 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 very old when Batman Beyond starts.
Yes. Basically, what we get from the series was that he stopped being Batman after he was too old and too ill and beat up to continue. Technically, that's what they did here, too, but he was not old yet. He was just too beat up. Of course, go come around with bangs. That'll happen to you.
Yeah, well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was pretty beat up at the beginning.
Well, true.
Because being Batman, it just ruins your knees. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, should have rewatched The Dark Knight before I went, because I didn't remember him hurting his leg real bad. He
Well, the
must
thing
have,
is,
but...
he got the heck beaten out of him in that last battle.
Uh-huh.
In what was it? Batman Returns?
The Dark Knight.
In The Dark Knight. And maybe we just didn't realize how badly he was hurt because, and he's, I'm not going to worry about spoilers for a movie that's several years old.
Yeah, seriously.
But in the end, he's talking to Commissioner Gordon. This is very vague memory. And then he sort of, limps off into the night. So maybe he was, and they just didn't tell us.
Yeah, they did not explicitly...
Running on adrenaline. God knows the suit may have helped him. I often think that, he's got stuff in the suit that helps him to... It's not quite power armor, but
It helped.
it's getting close.
Either way.
Anyway.
It was a satisfying conclusion to the Christopher Nolan trilogy.
Yes, it was.
If you were to watch all of them from the start, Batman Begins, just watch all three straight, they would flow beautifully.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We haven't done it yet, but someday we will.
Yeah. Well, we can't quite do it yet.
I know. I said we haven't.
Yeah.
But, there are
I'm sure we will.
wonderful connections back to the first two movies.
Yeah. And very consistent in its treatment of Bruce. And, well,
Alfred.
because
Commissioner Gordon.
Alfred, one of the things that Chris Nolan wanted to do is to make it feel real. Not comic booky real, but real.
Uh-huh. As real as a man dressed up like a bat can
can
be.
in a big hard rubber suit. But so anyway, in closing, it's really good. Well, it's more accurate to say we really, really liked it.
Yeah.
We saw very little that made us think it was a bad film. We think it's a very good film. That's our opinion.
Yes.
Go see it and make up your own mind. Of course, considering how much money it's made, most of you already have.
Oh, well.
Oh well.
Whatever.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.